In today's junk journal with me, I'm going to be working on 3 different pages for 3 prompts of Junk Journal January. And whilst I didn't really have a clear plan of what I wanted to do with these prompts, I decided to just sort of go with think of the first thing that comes to mind and do that on the journal page route, because I think sometimes it's really easy to get so wrapped up in overthinking prompts almost. And I kind of wanted to show you these more simple spreads because you don't need to overcomplicate things all the time. You can just do a simple journal page and still create something that is fun, that is interactive, as you'll see for these pages. So I'm using the floral cutout that I cut out from a previous journal with me video, and what I decided to do for this was to lay it underneath some tracing paper because the prompt that we're doing here is sealed. And so I just sort of thought the first thing that came to mind was, what if I had something that is sealed in my page almost? So I thought that tracing paper or this more tissue paper material would give a really nice ghosted effect. So I cut them both to size on the page, glued down the right hand side just so that the material would stick in place. And then what I decided to do for a bit of interest on the page, because otherwise this might have looked a little bit plain, is I decided to spruce it up with just some hand stitching. So I just did a really simple basic stitch along the edge of my page. I've done this in quite a few different journals now. It's just a really easy way to add some texture, some interest, and you don't have to be an expert at sewing to do this. I'm certainly not, and so it's just a really accessible way to add hand stitching to your page. And in this way, I actually realized that I accidentally created something of I don't want to say pocket, because you'll see when I pop the tag in here in a moment, you can put it through both sides of the pocket, so the top and the bottom. But I didn't want to call it a belly band because obviously it goes across the entirety of the page. So I'm not quite sure what I would call that, maybe an unsecured tuck spot, but that's just potential there for something to add something extra to the page. And I wanted to add a bit of interest to this now, but without detracting too much from the image that I had glued underneath, because obviously if I came in and did collage and stuff over the top, that would then be a bit pointless as to why I've put my image underneath. So you can still see it, but I did want to have something on the top layer just for that extra bit of dimension, I guess. So I came in with some stamping, I came in with some fairly neutral washi tape, and then also this little phrase from a PET tape, which I don't think is picking up on camera very well because it is white text, but in person and up close you can just faintly see it. And I think it's those sort of details that I wanted to pull out in a spread like that. So that was just a really simple technique for my page. Now the next prompt is reveal. So I really liked putting sealed next to reveal in the prompt list just because I thought that might spark some interesting ideas for you with your pages. But what I decided to do for reveal was to create a layered, really interactive page. So I got a few different papers and a tag, and I stapled the papers to it in quite a haphazard way just to create that layered effect. And so in essence then it's almost hidden journaling spots, so you would lift the paper and then it kind of reveals what's underneath. So that's sort of the thought process I was going with. I think it was inspired by the fact that the page that I'd included, I had measured it out it was longer or wider than the page actually was, and so I folded it in on itself. But having that piece folding over kind of made me think about what if I did a fold out or a fold up in a way that sort of reveals what's underneath. And I think it's a really nice way just to add some extra space for journaling. So I will eventually come back and add maybe some writing or a quote onto this, but I think that you might be bored if you were to just watch me do some writing. So I kept this just to the decoration for this, and to be honest, I kept that simple as well. I just used some floral rub-on stickers because I thought that they would sort of merge into the different papers quite nicely, and I think it was really nice as well just to have the different tones of the papers, so like the cream of the tag, and then you've got like the brown paper and then some white paper on top. So all those different paper textures I think really worked together and sort of complemented each other and made this sort of like layered reveal aspect a bit more visually interesting than if I had just, had 3 pieces of paper, they were all the same shape and colour, and put them on top of each other. So it's quite nice that you can see things peeking out, and it almost adds a bit of interest then and makes you want to lift up the other parts. But in order that this doesn't go everywhere when the journal is open, I decided to have just a rose gold paper clip there on the edge, and I think that helps just to secure everything in place. And you can see there I was even debating, like, should I add another piece of paper on there, but I didn't in the end. But it's definitely something extra that I could add just for, I don't know, like more space if I wanted to add different things to this journal. I was thinking as I've been working on this, I've created quite a few pages that have tuck spots and pockets and such, but I haven't actually created like the tags and the cards to go inside them. So I definitely need to sit down and actually create all of the bits that go inside, but I wasn't putting pressure on myself to create all of that within the month, because obviously working on the daily prompts and filling up an entire junk journal within a month is a challenge in itself. And so I didn't want to make it any more stressful, I suppose, by also doing all those extra bits. And, I don't always need to add the extras to the page. Like sometimes it is just fun to create a page that has a pocket or an interactive element, and it was just fun to make, and I don't actually need to put anything inside it. But then it's nice if I want to, I have that option on the pages. And so I think that's what makes interactive junk journal pages so appealing, is all of the different ways that you can approach them and the extra things that you can add just to make them more unique, I suppose. So I ended up adding just a few stickers there, some letter stickers with the prompt name reveal. I don't normally add like what prompt I'm doing to the page, but I really liked those pale pink stickers, and I think the word reveal made sense in that context, so it didn't seem odd to include it on the page in that way. So the last prompt I'm doing here is fabric, and I kept this one really simple. I had this really lovely patterned fabric that I can't even remember where I got it from. It's been in my stash that long because I don't often use fabric and like materials in this way for pages. So I thought, why not just cut out a section of this and just lean into the fact that there's a really nice pattern here and use that as like a ready-made background almost. So rather than me coming in and doing like a whole bunch of collage or painting or whatever different background technique I would do, I just decided to add a section of this fabric to the page. I did make sure that you could still see the brown paper at the top and the bottom, so I didn't cover the page completely, but I just let the fabric be the focal point of the page and didn't really add like a huge amount else. I added like a little word sticker that had some brown paper to back it just so that it didn't get lost within the busy pattern, but that was pretty much what I did for the page. So you don't have to do really fancy like in-depth pages for challenges like this. Like I literally just added some fabric to the back of that page. I think it complemented the brown paper that I had there really nicely, and it just sort of rounded off that page, I think. And because that page isn't as wide as the journal, so you can still see stitching from the first page that I did earlier, it all kind of like ties together, I think, and complements each other nicely. So it's just nice to see all those different materials and textures and things throughout my junk journal. So that is my approach to these 3 prompts. As always, I'd love to know what you've done for these prompts. I've seen some really fun examples. Somebody even did a page that had a seal on it, which I just thought was absolutely hilarious. So yeah, when I say that people come up with all sorts of different interpretations, I truly mean it, even the pun pages. So that was really fun to see. So I hope that you enjoyed journaling along with me today, and I will see you in the next one for the final installment of Junk Journal January 2025, where I'll be taking you through my prompt for the collaboration, which is letter.